So first off, thank you guys so much for having me. AI and DAOs is just a topic that I care so much about. I really think that AIs are going to improve the operations of DAOs. They're going to make DAOs more accessible for everybody. Um, and as somebody who's been in the DAO space for close to 3 years now, I think we have a lot of things that need to be solved. And AI, it just seems like AI can be applied to so many of the issues that we faced 3 years ago, we're still facing today. So, okay. When I first laid hands on ChatGPT, I had spent 2 years in tens of DAOs and 3 years as a business student, and I had the startling realization that I had just found the solution to both of those things. You see, back when I joined Kernel, Cabin DAO, and Friends with Benefits in 2021, I didn't really have the time or resources to participate alongside my busy schedule as a student. But I was obsessively attracted to the concept of the ownership economy, where I'd have the opportunity to meaningfully control the protocols that I used. But with time, I grew anxious about how true it was. When I got my ENS airdrop to me, I sold because I was skeptical I'd gain more value from delegating to a stranger than selling. And in the bear market today, these problems are more potent than ever. Voter apathy, centralized delegations, and stagnating growth are drawing DAOs further from the organizations I was passionate about in 2021. Um, but in January, I saw GPT-4 and saw a glimmer of hope. Algorithms that my friends and I trusted to consistently suggest valuable content and solutions to their problems. Instantly, I knew that the answer to maybe all of the big issues in DAOs and maybe humanity lay somewhere in AI. But to solve the problem, I had to define what a DAO was. So in June, I wrote an essay that sought to define a community from first principles. Today, I'll be making some revisions, but the overall gist is the same. Now, having a model is incredibly important because we use the word community a lot in crypto. We have the crypto community, DeFi community, refi community, so on. But this distinction of how communities are uniquely structured from a cooperative or a company is unclear to most people and makes it much harder to separate healthy communities from unhealthy communities, grifters from meaningful communities, and explain how we actually innovate to skeptics so that they can even contribute meaningfully to communities like ours. So, uh, the issues with DAOs, right? Like we take a look at DAOs, and primarily the problems are in friction, and then apathy, then churn, then identity crisis. We'll come back to this. Uh, the model that I created was one that took owners and consumers and workers, these three general archetypes about what people want from crypto. So owners, they want control over governance over a protocol. They own tokens, and they want to like have a sense over how they want to be able to control the protocols that they're using. Consumers, these are people that want to behave, they want to participate in transactional sort of things. So they want to buy, they want to sell. And then workers, they want to produce. So they want to, they may have a job, they may work in crypto. And by mixing these kinds of three archetypes, you can create a cooperative, a community, or a cult. And the way that I think about this is that so we've seen cults, we've seen cooperatives in the past, but what DAOs uniquely enable are for communities to self-organize. So, but at the same time, these tier two sort of groups inherit the motivations from both the base of the collectives, but they struggle with the archetype at the opposite end. So communities are always going to struggle with having people to work for them. And I think we're seeing this across tons of DAOs where you have paid contributors that are also like governing the community. And this creates a lot of tension where they're making decisions that are suboptimal. But if they do successfully cross this barrier without bleeding into the other side, right? So if you do have like a community that is governing the protocol, without also like being the contributors to the protocol themselves, then through this communication, you can create a very healthy community, you can create a very healthy community. So if they succeed, they form what's called an institution. And these are the most powerful, most storied organizations of all. I think Apple and Tesla as cults. So they crossed the owner to cult barrier. WJA as cooperatives, and like Ukraine DAO as a community that successfully raised capital and then allocated it through workers that were on the ground in Ukraine and were successful. So ultimately, like, this is sort of the basis for where I think DAOs are going to be. We're going to have community DAOs, we're going to have company DAOs, we're going to have cults, we're going to have all these kinds of different independent organizations. But what's uniquely enabled are the community DAOs, right? But the issue is, of course, that like community DAOs are the hardest to actually mobilize. And we can go over here. And it's because they're very sensitive to friction. You can think of people on social media, right? The most popular social media platforms are the ones that are the most frictionless. So this is TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You log in and it does all the work for you. That's simply not a user experience that we're seeing in DAOs. So what this friction creates is apathy. When people open up Snapchat or Discourse, they feel the friction, and over time, like the problem that I faced, they realize that the trade-off isn't as in their favor as it might have been. So they might feel apathetic, and then the sort of reaction to this from DAOs is to improve, right? And then once they churn, they start going into a little bit of financial incentivization, so airdrops, token incentives. And then when churn has reached a threshold, then they start delegating, and you could sort of see this as reducing friction, but through centralization and through management, which I think is against the ethos of crypto, where everything is about like individual sort of control, right? Like you should be able to control the protocol in the same way anybody else should. And so, yeah, unfortunately, I sort of think of this as like delaying the inevitable unless we solve this friction piece at the very beginning, which is where AI comes in, right? So why AI, right? I think it's pretty simple, right? But number one is going to be modular UX, right? So this is sort of central to the crypto ethos, but when you're able to interchange models for different responsibilities and in order to generate more trust from somebody, this is sort of solving the problem that many people in crypto sort of come to crypto for, which is institutional distrust. So if you can come in here and create your own llama to like fine tune it to the proposals that you're looking at, or if you can just use ChatGPT, if that's like something that you're willing to trust, then the ability to interchange those models allows you to be in control. Second is that trustable, right? So everybody here has used ChatGPT before. Some of us have used GPT-4, but many of my friends are using it like it's Google now. So they used to trust Google, they used to trust Wikipedia. Now we're trusting ChatGPT, even though it's just an LLM. Sometimes it's not even necessarily connected to the internet or like a database, but it's trustable. Now, maybe it's not entirely trustworthy because it has hallucinations, but people are working on that. The third part is speed. So this is more into keeping institutions alive, right? Keeping organizations alive. But you always have this problem of time. The longer it takes for something to get done, the more people are going to be disillusioned with the process. They're going to fall off. They're going to be upset. So we need to create viral loops that increase engagement and retention. That's more of a secondary thing. The real thing is to increase the speed of organizing and agility to compete against other orgs, whether that's other DAOs or even like other non-crypto based organizations. And then 4, it's reliable. So it's always a function call away. You can just query the API and it will always produce results. So versus human delegates, which can be they have other responsibilities, frankly, right? So they may not participate. Many of them, I think, have participation rates below 50%, which is frankly, I think if you're, they have things to do, and I understand that. But if I want to delegate my tokens to a delegate, I would want them to participate in votes, and also, to build a deeper relationship. So, yeah. So at Diplomat, that's what we're focusing on doing. So we're building AI to participate in voting. So our AIs are going to suggest to people. It's going to create these personalized suggestions, and based off of like your Ethereum wallet or maybe your Farcaster history or so on. But they're going to participate in the proposal voting process, and we want to bring it to 100% participation rates, 100% approval rates, and 100-second turnover times. So this is like the mix. This is like the holy trinity of what we're trying to accomplish at Diplomat, and it's going to be like 10x, 100x better than what we have right now if we pull it off. But we've currently built out our demo, and here, this is us during build space. But we currently built out our demo. We have several users using our platform. We've done like the tests. We've spoken to customers, and we're just like continuously improving all the time. But where we can improve in governance in the future, this is something that we're building out right now. Where we want to bring this in the future is a place where AI can connect us directly, like a one-to-one in a more meaningful way, and also where you can control it from your mobile app or your web app, but it operates in much of the way like the TikTok algorithm does, which is to say, is invisible, and it's something that you can trust because of course you're able to like tweak the parameters on your side, and everybody is able to like participate in the editing of their personal their personal AI delegate, but the underlying like effects or the you're just going to be able to trust the AI to go out there and then vote on your behalf, or to suggest you proposals where you can take the decision on your own end. So that's where I see the future of AIs intersecting with DAO governance. Ultimately, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of opportunity here, and we're super excited to be working in this space and to be working alongside like some really incredible people who are also thinking about this. So I would love to chat with you guys. I know we're going to chat right after this, but yeah, thank you so much for listening to my talk, and happy to be working with you guys in the future. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Very cool. I think we're very ideologically aligned on what we would like to see LLMs doing. So I really hope to see where this goes. Now we'll do an open QA session where anyone can join. The first question I will put will be to you, Rahul. And speakers, if you're backstage, I'll assume that you would like to come up. If you don't, just let me know in the private chat, and I'll put you down. And we'll also return to some of the questions that were asked, but we didn't get to. I believe we have one. You mentioned like, tweaking your own personal algorithm. And I like that you brought up TikTok, because you'll often hear people talk about TikTok. They'll say, my algorithm showed me. So I think people already kind of understand this. As I'm using, like maybe your proof of concept doesn't have this quite yet, but maybe you could speculate about, let's say it gives me a proposal and I like a little bit of it, but I feel like it's too vague or it's way too specific about something. What do you envision the like tweaking for the tuning? Maybe that's not quite the right word, but giving, like on TikTok, people know not to watch something too long and don't touch any of don't touch the screen, because if you even open the comments, it thinks that you like it, right?
Yeah. That's actually really fascinating, like the whole game theory part, where it's like if you understand the rules of how the AI operates, you're going to change your behaviors because you want it to like produce a certain output. When it comes to the way we're implementing our AI solution, like it's largely based off of a personal statement that somebody writes up and then adds to the LLM, so that the LLM like understands who they are, what their interests are, their values are, and then we're looking into adding some other like databases, some other you know, some, like, for example, their Farcaster that I mentioned. So uh, I think ultimately, like, you know, different people are going to go about implementing this in different ways. But the way that we're doing it, it's not really like interfacing too much. Where the way that you'll tweak it, it's going to update the next the like the future proposals, but it's not going to be
Right.
like continuous sort of. It's not going to be entirely sort of based within the parameters. Like, man, it's I think we're going to have to draw on like different kinds of data sets in different ways, right? And like keep tweaking until we get really well at understanding it, like exactly what customers want. And you know, there are
Yeah,
even different kinds of DAO participants, right? So whales are
absolutely.
going to act differently from like retail, and we do want to focus on retail for now because I think those are the people that have been largely disillusioned with the DAO process.
Yeah,
Whales and delegates are going to be like they're going to be fine, right? But yeah, that's sort of how we're thinking about things. It's just focusing on the end user.
cool. Yeah, I love to hear that.